I will sing forever of your love come down. With my hands to heaven, shout your praises loud. I was lost in darkness when you pulled me out. I will sing forever of your love come down. Welcome to LCBC. Won't you stand and join us? I once was blind, I could not see. Chains of sin had shackled me, but God in heaven heard my plea, and Jesus, Jesus rescued me. Oh, Jesus, Jesus rescued me. I will sing forever of your love come down. With my hands to heaven, shout your praises loud. I was lost in darkness when you pulled me out. I will sing forever of your love come down. Now grace so sweet, it floods my soul, and hope eternal won't let go. My debt erased at Calvary, 'cause Jesus, Jesus rescued me. Oh, Jesus, Jesus rescued me. I will sing forever of your love come down. With my hands to heaven, shout your praises loud. I was lost in darkness when you pulled me out. I will sing forever of your love come down. Well, there's a home beyond the sky, a song we'll sing for all of time. The grave is empty, I am free, 'cause Jesus, Jesus rescued me. Oh, Jesus, Jesus rescued me. I will sing forever of your love come down. With my hands to heaven, shout your praises loud.
beautiful name it is, and nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus, you love to sing of your name, Lord, of how good you are. We love to sing of your name, Lord, 'cause death could not hold you. The veil torn before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring the praise of your glory, for you are raised to life again. And you have no rival, and you have no equal, now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is! What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is! Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus. You have no rival, you have no equal, now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is! What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is! Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Lord, we are so thankful that you woke us up another day and that we can live for you today. And I'm thankful just to be standing in a room full of people that are singing of your powerful and wonderful and beautiful name, Jesus. You are worthy of all of our praise. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for choosing us as your sons and daughters. We want to praise you all the days of our lives. Teach us what it means today to look more like you, to live more like you, Jesus. It's in your beautiful name that we pray all of this. Amen. Well, it was awesome singing with you guys today. My name is Emily. Would you turn to someone that's in the seats around you, shake their hand, just make each other feel welcome today, then go ahead and grab a seat.
I'm Roger Steve, and this is my wife, Donna. I was church searching, so friends of ours suggested to go to LCBC, and we met at LCBC.
I was a single mom of 2 boys for a pretty long time, and I learned how to be a penny pincher. I still am.
Yes,
I squeeze the toothpaste until, I'm one of those people. But I was raised to tithe, so when Roger lost his full-time job, we both worked full-time, we had to really sit back and figure it out.
And we started going through a budget. The very, very, very first thing I wanted off that list was tithing. And Donna was adamant with tithing. She said, we're sticking with it. That's off the table. And we got in a little disagreement with it, but Donna won out. It was the best thing for us, for me, because that's not how I was raised. I was kind of a spender.
So if I'm gonna trust God with my life, my eternity, my children, my marriage, my home, but I can't trust him with 10% of my income, that doesn't make any sense.
With me losing my job, Donna suggested going to Financial Peace to understand how her upbringing was. And, I ended up going.
I love Financial Peace. It was a huge blessing for us to latch on to and even further deepen our understanding of how God operates.
We kept plugging along with tithing, and we were a little tight, and then money would somehow show up. It's really interesting. With my old job, I had a retirement fund. All of a sudden that check came that I completely forgot about. Just things of that nature.
God was so faithful. It doesn't even make sense. It's kind of like God's math. You can't explain it.
Giving 10% is essentially his money, giving it back to him. And he's letting us have 90. So that's a win-win situation for us. The easiest way to tithe is we decide to do it online. It's quick and easy, a couple clicks on the keyboard.
And tithing, for me, is a heart issue. It's not a money issue. It's an issue of the heart and understanding that God wants to be first in everything. He wants our heart.
So I really believe one of the best decisions that my wife Missy and I made early in our marriage was to put God first in the area of our resources and specifically bring to him the first 10% of our income. Because of that, we've experienced his faithfulness in so many ways. We've experienced so much freedom. And honestly, I would love for you to be able to experience the exact same thing. So we've created a way here at LCBC for you to dip your toe in the water with tithing, and it's called the 90-Day Tithing Challenge. If you go to lcbcchurch.com, click on the 90-Day Tithing Challenge. We believe in this so much, we just want you to try it. Try it for 90 days. If at the end of 90 days, you don't feel like it was the best decision for you to put God first, to trust him in the area of your finances, we will give you all the money back, no questions asked. This isn't an LCBC thing. As Donna just said in the video, we really believe this is a heart thing. We want you to put God first. We want you to trust him. We want you to be able to experience his faithfulness in your life. Go to lcbcchurch.com, click on the 90-day tithing challenge, take the challenge. All right, so glad you're here with us this morning on what is a beautiful morning in August. Excited to continue on in our Street Smart series. Hey, we'd love to know that you're here today as well, so grab your program, fill out the About You page, or you can check in on our app. While you're doing that, our good friends, the ushers, they're going to come down, they're going to pass a basket down your row, and this is our chance this morning to bring gifts to God. And so if you haven't done so online, take the opportunity as the basket passes. Also throw your About You card in there as well. Want to let you know about some things going on here over the next couple weeks around the church. First is this, starting point. Okay, if you are new to faith, what I believe you need right now is people. Safe place for you to come and ask questions, to learn, to grow. Starting point is the exact place that you need. Our next group is getting started up on Tuesday. You can get signed up at lcbcchurch.com. Now, if you're new to the church, we would love to connect with you a little bit. We'd love to get to know you through an environment we call Newcomers. Our next Newcomers is coming up in early September. Come on out, get to know us as a church while we get to know you. You can get signed up on our website as well. So I seriously can't believe this. It's like the third week of August here. Like, where did the summer go? I don't even know where it went. Like, we're in back to school mode already. Except in my house, it's first time to school mode because my son Asher is going to kindergarten this fall. And I got to be honest, I'm like a little nostalgic and sentimental about how fast this kid's growing up, right? Where does the time go? It's crazy. You know, and one of our big hopes as he is heading into kindergarten this fall is that he gets connected, right? That he connects well. He finds a teacher that he connects well, that he finds friends, kids that he connects well with as well. I think we all have this desire to connect, right? To connect well. It's innate in all of us. It's how we're created, how we're wired as humans. I heard a really famous psychologist say this: the human brain needs 3 things to be healthy. It needs oxygen, it needs sugar, and it needs relationships, right? It's so much a part of who we are. And that's why at LCBC, we value connecting in relationships so highly. We want you to connect relationally around the church, and the way we do that most is through life groups. And so if you are not in a life group, I want to talk to you right now, okay? What we'd love for you to do today, stop by our Next Step area and pick up one of these life group kits. Quite simply, it's this: pick up a kit, get some friends together, and start meeting as a group. Your friends don't even have to go to LCBC, honestly. Get a kit, get some friends, start meeting as a group. We've got great resources to give you on how to do a life group. We've got message-based questions that are coming up later in October. But for right now, just grab this kit. There are great resources, great tools in here for you to start doing relationships well, for you to be intentional about your relationships. They'll help you start a group. It'll help you with conversations. There's fun things in here for you to do. Honestly, I tried to get one of these boxes for my life group, and I was told no, because it's only for new life groups. And then I took one anyway. Just kidding, I wouldn't do that. I'm a pastor. But as you leave today, stop by our Next Steps area, pick up one of these kits, and start getting intentional about your relationships. So glad you're here with us today. We're going to continue on as Street Smarts, but before we get there, we've got a pretty fun announcement for you. So let's check out the screens together.
Hey, bud. Hey, what's up? I miss Thursday.
Saturday, I told you. The weekdays just can't compete with us.
She was doing a really good job. People really like the option.
Stop it, Saturday. Next thing you know, you're going to want Fridays to be part of the weekend. Or the Tuesday's the next hump day. Or, hey, let's make Wednesday the next national holiday.
I was talking to Wednesday, and you should have seen the Yuletide aura he gave about...
Thursday is no longer a part of the LCBC gathering team. Deal with it.
Hey guys, have you met Monday?
Hi, I'm Monday.
Oh, for the love.
Hi, I'm Monday.
Hi!
Nice to meet you.
Monday, it's nice to meet you!
Saturday, right?
Yeah, he knows my name.
Hey, Monday, do the thing. LCBC style.
Mondays.
LCBC style.
All right, so you've got to be asking, what's the deal with Monday? We were talking about Thursdays, and now we're all of a sudden talking about Mondays. So let me bring you up to speed on what's happened over the last 4 or 5 months as we've talked about potentially a Thursday gathering, and now we seem to have been shifting to Monday. You know that back in the spring, we did a 12-week experiment at the Lancaster City campus saying, would a midweek Thursday night gathering work? And it did, and yet we said we also just kind of want to poll and survey everybody and say, how would you respond to a gathering on a Thursday night? And so interesting things with the survey that we found out. Couple numbers that I'll throw at you. 3,485 households took part in the survey. Now, more of you wanted to take part in it, but we had to cut it off. What's interesting is we hired a firm from Pittsburgh, and they were doing the survey for us. Within 2 hours of them putting the survey out, they called us and said, we've got to shut it down. You have too many responses. And we said, we can't stop now. We need to have more time. And so they gave us 2 days, and in 2 days, 3,500 of you responded. And we know that more of you would like to respond, but they said, we've got a great sample to work with. So 3,400, 3,500 households participated. A couple other numbers that I'll throw at you real quick. 15,281, that's our average attendance on the weekend this year for 2017, 15,281 people. But there's another number that's even more interesting, and that number is 29,665. That's the number of people that show up at LCBC once a month or so, at least once a month, and so that means LCBC is bigger than the 15,000. It's closer to 30,000 people that call LCBC home, and so an interesting number for us to look at. Now, as we did the survey, some interesting things came out with the survey. The organization that was doing the survey lumped all of us into 3 categories. So this was their doing, their choice. But the categories that they lumped us into were those that are most engaged, those that they called moderately engaged, and those that they called least engaged. So 3 different categories, most, moderate, or least. They said all of us are one of those 3 categories, and they had their reasons for it. But what they found is when they began to ask questions about would somebody come to a gathering during the week, a couple things that were interesting. They found that those that are most engaged are the least likely to come on a Thursday night or some gathering during the week. Interesting for us. And what that tells us is those of you that show up every week, you're in a rhythm, you've got a system down, you know when you're going to come to church, you come at 9 o'clock, you come at 10 o'clock, you come at 5:30, we don't even do a 5:30, you come at 6:15 on Sunday nights. You know your schedule, you have your routine, you have your rhythm, and you said to us, no, probably wouldn't come to a gathering during the week unless it just was this extraordinary situation. But what the survey did tell us is those that are least engaged are the most likely to show up to that kind of gathering. And what it told us is there are people that are kind of on the fringe, or maybe you want to come more, but because of things happening on the weekends, you're not able to be here, whether it's work or sports or whatever the reason, you're not able to be here on the weekend. And you said you're most likely to come if we would do it at another time. Now, a couple other interesting things with that. 3,000 people is the pool that the survey was able to, they were able to pull out and say, we've got this pool of 3,000 people that if there was a gathering off the weekend, are likely to show up and come to one of those gatherings. Flexibility was the main issue, and saying we just need some flexibility. We can't make it on Saturday, we can't make it on Sunday, something else would work well for us. So flexibility was the key issue. Night of the week was not significant. People said it doesn't matter if it's Thursday, if it's Tuesday, if it's Friday, if it's Monday. And so we stepped back and said, okay, in our cycle, in our rhythm of doing church, what would work best? If it doesn't matter the night of the week, Monday would really work best for us as an organization. So we stepped back and we said, okay, Monday is what we're going to try. Now, a couple other things that encouraged us is that when we tried the experiment at Lancaster City campus, 24.7 is the increase in attendance during that 12-week period for the city campus. So about 25% increase in their attendance during that 12-week period. We also did a 4-week experiment at Branch Creek, and we did it during At the Movies, so just for 4 weeks. They experienced the same thing, 24% increase in their attendance during those 4 weeks during At the Movies. And so we step back, we look at the survey, we say we've got this pool of people that are saying, yeah, we would come if we had an alternative time to come. The experiments have worked real well, and so we say, let's give it a try. So bottom line, 7 campuses are going to launch Monday evening gatherings starting October the 9th. Branch Creek, Columbia, Montour, Ephrata, Harrisburg, Lancaster City, Manheim, and York. And the starting date of this is October the 9th. So Monday, October the 9th. And we played with a starting time. Do we go with 6, which is what we did at Lancaster City? Do we go with 6:30? Do we go with 7? And we decided 6:30 seemed to be the one that seemed to be most optimal to try. And so that's kind of the plan. And do we know for sure that it's going to work? We don't know. Survey seems to imply that. The experiments seem to imply that. So we say, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. And so October the 9th is when we try it. Now, one other thing I'll say to you is this opens up lots of new opportunities. New opportunities to show up to a gathering, but also new opportunities to serve. Because what's going to happen is some of you who are involved on the weekend are going to shift to Monday night. And so that's great, but some of you, it'll be the very first time you've really been able to participate and serve. And so new opportunity for you to serve on Monday night. But because some people are going to move from the weekend to Monday night, that also opens up new opportunities on the weekend for some of you to serve as well. And so if you've been here, but you haven't been serving, this is a great opportunity. We'll tell you more about all this over the next couple of months as we move closer to October 9th. But we're excited about saying, let's give this a try. Let's see what happens. And new opportunities for us to engage, to move closer to Jesus in our walk with Him. And so just a heads up on that. So today we jump into our series entitled Street Smarts. Street Smarts is really about how do we live wisely? How do we have wisdom in the decisions that we make? And all of us have decisions that we're trying to make. Maybe it involves family, maybe it involves parenting, maybe it involves finances, maybe it involves your school. All of us have decisions. My guess is you right now are faced with a decision. You're trying to figure out what to do. And you just think, man, if I could just have some advice, some good advice on how to function, I would love that. I actually have opportunity tomorrow to spend the day with about 25 to 30 pastors from leading churches around the country, and Rick Warren has pulled together a group of people to say, how do we talk about as churches the whole issue of racism? And our country needs wisdom in knowing how to deal with that. And so looking for wisdom tomorrow. I know what it means to want wisdom in my life. I would guess you want it yours as well. And so God gives us this opportunity. He says in the book of Proverbs, I'm going to tell you how to live wisely. And then we have a choice. We can either do what God tells us to do and live wisely, or we can choose to go our own way. And so often, we kind of think we know better than God. We tend to go our own way. And so one of the things we love at LCBC is just music. One of the things that I love is just kind of classic rock. Whenever we have opportunity to throw in a song that seems to kind of go with the message, then we go, let's do that. That'd be fun. And so sometimes with the classic rock, they do it just to humor me. So this is maybe just for me, but hopefully you enjoy as well.
Loving you isn't the right thing to do. How can I ever change things that I feel? If I could, baby, I'd give you my word. How can I when you won't take it from me? You can go your own way, go your own way. You can call it another lonely day.
See, now every time we do something like that, you guys like it, and that's good. And so you need to tell everybody more you like it, and then maybe I'll have my way and we get more of that from time to time. So this past week didn't quite go the way I'd expected it to go. And I don't know if you've had those kind of weeks where, if you're like me, I like to plan out things way in advance. And I plan out how I think a day is going to go and how I hope it's going to go. And usually I plan it weeks in advance. And this week did not go anything like I had thought that it was going to go. A week ago on Thursday night, Ruth got a phone call. And it was a phone call concerning her mom, telling us that we had lost Ruth's mom. Now, when I say lost, she didn't die, and we did not physically lose her. But Ruth's mom struggles with Alzheimer's and dementia. And for all practical purposes, we kind of lost Ruth's mom. The community where she has been living, I actually called and said to Ruth, she's just been diminishing in her skills and abilities to just kind of survive, and they said she can't stay here anymore. As a matter of fact, they said we need her to be moved immediately. So that was a week ago Thursday night. So last Sunday night, Ruth and I and Ashley, our daughter, jump on an airplane, fly to Houston, and begin to make plans to move Shirley here to Pennsylvania to be closer to us. And so Tuesday morning at 4 a.m., Ashley and I drop off Ruth and Shirley at the airport in Houston for them to fly back and get her checked into a new community here and assessed and all here. And so that's happened, and that was a great thing. And after Ashley and I drop them off at the airport at 4 o'clock, we go to Shirley's place and we begin to box up all of her belongings. And at 4:30 on Tuesday afternoon, we finish loading up the U-Haul and we start driving back to Pennsylvania. And we get back late on Thursday evening. And again, it wasn't the kind of week that we expected. It wasn't kind of the week that we planned, but it's the week that just kind of was dealt to us. Now, what's interesting for Shirley is she's physically strong, and most of the time she's very, very pleasant. And what's interesting, she doesn't even know really that she's suffering or struggling. And so just kind of an interesting thing. But for all practical purposes for us, we've kind of lost her because she doesn't know who we are and really recognize us. But while we were on this trip, 1,500 miles driving back to Pennsylvania gave me a lot of time to think and reflect. And so as I'm thinking and reflecting, I mean, some of the things that I thought about, one is how thankful I am that I'm not a truck driver. Those of you that drive trucks, hats off to you. You do an amazing thing, and I couldn't do it. For me, it was hard to stay awake. It was hard to kind of time out the potty breaks for me, and so those were challenging things as I tried to figure out driving back. It also caused me to just kind of reflect on my own identity and self-worth, because what I realized very quickly on the road is there's kind of a pecking order for truck drivers. And what I discovered is that U-Haul truck drivers are not at the top of that pecking order. And I mean, I didn't know that. I figured I would be there at the top. And what's interesting is it actually wasn't until the third day of the trip that I realized I wasn't at the top of the order. And what happened is as we were driving, and actually Ashley was driving, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and we started coming up on another U-Haul truck up in front. I think, oh, this is interesting. Another, brother, all of us brothers on the road and truck drivers. But as we get closer to that U-Haul truck, all of a sudden I realize it's kind of a small, wimpy little truck. And the closer we get, I realize that's the same truck we're in and we're driving. And so what I realized is not only is there a pecking order for truck drivers, but U-Hauls are at the bottom, and then there's the bottom of the U-Haul list, and we were at the very bottom altogether. And I was crushed because I realized I wasn't in an 18-wheeler big rig like I'd thought. I wasn't even in a 6-wheeler. We were in this little 4-wheeler just kind of puttering along. So kind of an interesting thing for us. But I didn't spend the whole time thinking about me. I also spent time just thinking about Shirley, Ruth's mom. And as I reflected on Shirley and her life, and just her experiences in life, one of the things that I really began to realize is Shirley is somebody who had street smarts. And that's what we're talking about in this series, street smarts. Somebody who just lives their life wisely. And the reason why I say she had street smarts is because she had a particular tool at her disposal. A tool that she used, and I think she used well. A tool that served her well throughout her life, continues to serve her well today. And it's a tool that it's all part of just kind of having street smarts and having wisdom. And so let me describe the tool to you this way. I want to give you kind of a word association quiz, and so I need you to respond and talk to me. So this is audience participation if this is going to work. But I'm going to give you a vocation. I'm going to give you a job, And as I give you the vocation, I want you to tell me what's the tool that is most likely going to help this person in this vocation be successful. Okay, so that's the way it works. You tell me what's successful. So the first job is that of a carpenter. So what tool would a carpenter most likely use to be successful? Hammer. Good. Okay, we got the first one. Second one, a judge. If somebody is a judge, they want to be successful, they need a gavel. Okay, very good. Next one is a photographer. A photographer is going to be successful. They need a tool. Their tool is a camera. Good. We're moving along well. A referee. Let's say an NFL referee. If they're going to do their job well, what do they need? So somebody said glasses. Another gathering said blindfolds is what they actually need. Well, let's go with whistle. We'll say an NFL referee needs a whistle. What about a hairdresser? What tool does a hairdresser need? Scissors, okay. A barista, somebody, we'll find out those of you that go to the coffee shops, but what tool do they need to make good, nice coffee? Beans, whipped cream. I'm going to go with espresso machine. I don't even drink coffee, so I really don't know for sure, but we're going to go with espresso machine. One other category, Philadelphia Eagles. What tool do they need to be successful? I actually don't have an answer for this one. I decided I wasn't going to go there. And I couldn't even look back at history and see what has made them successful in the past because that hasn't happened. So anyway, but all of these are tools that make these people successful at what they do. And a carpenter without a hammer isn't going to be successful. A hairdresser without scissors is not going to be successful. And Shirley had a tool that she used throughout her life that helped her live well and helps her even today to continue to live well. And what's interesting, it's a tool that every one of us can have. You can have that same tool. You can use that same exact tool. And it's one that's right out of the book of Proverbs. And Proverbs talks about this particular tool, and he says it will make life better. As a matter of fact, the tool that Shirley was using is one that the writer of Proverbs, Solomon, says it's kind of a do or die thing. This is what it says, Proverbs chapter 4, verse 13. Take hold of my instructions, don't let them go, guard them, for they are the key to life. So important is this particular tool, he calls it the key to life. He says if you want life to go well, then you'd better hang on to it, you'd better grip it and grip it tightly and cling to it because it's going to play a huge role in determining how your life is going to go today and how it's going to continue to go in the future. So let me tell you what that particular tool is. Poverty and shame come to a person who ignores discipline. The tool that Shirley had in her life was that of discipline. And the writer of Proverbs, Solomon, says, you know what? If you want things to go well in your life, you need discipline. Now, let me give you a reminder as we read through the book of Proverbs, and I'm hoping that you are reading through the book of Proverbs. The challenge we made to each of us was one chapter a day, whatever day of the month that is, then you read that particular chapter, and so that's kind of the challenge. So hopefully you've been reading through it, and as you've been reading through it, just a reminder of how Proverbs work. Proverbs are not promises, but instead they're observations about what is usually or normally true. So as you're reading through Proverbs, you can't latch on to a particular verse and say, okay, this is a promise of God, and if I do this, 100% guaranteed it's going to work out well, because that's not what Proverbs are. Proverbs are kind of sayings that say, if you do life this way, normally, 95% of the time, normally 97% of the time, this is the way life is going to work. But there are exceptions. It doesn't always work that way. And so you may know some of the exceptions, you may have experienced some of them, but bottom line, this is what's normally true. Now, when we talk about discipline, as soon as I say the word discipline, some of you guys shut down right away and you go, oh man. Reminds you of a kid when you were in trouble and you were disciplined by your parents, or reminds you of a soldier getting yelled at, or reminds you of Ezekiel Elliott being suspended for 6 weeks. I mean, all of a sudden, you think of negative when you think of discipline, but I want you to change that thought process, because a writer of Proverbs says it's not a negative thing. Instead, he actually says discipline is this indispensable tool that will help our lives work well. If you want life to go well, then we need to learn the art of discipline. And so if you haven't yet pulled out a program with an outline, let me encourage you to do that, because I want to talk to you a little bit about discipline and how to develop discipline. What are the keys to discipline in our life that will help our lives go well, just automatically be better? This is the tool that Solomon says this is it. You need to have this tool in your life. Now, if you're going to develop discipline in your life, then one of the first components, and again, there are 3 components to developing discipline in our lives, is first of all, you need to know why you need to have discipline in your life in the first place. I mean, the reason why a carpenter has a hammer is because he's building something. The reason why an NFL ref has a whistle is because he's officiating something. So why in the world would you need discipline in your life? And so the first step in having a disciplined life is you need a goal. You need to know why you need discipline. Bottom line, it's asking yourself the question, what am I trying to do with my life that actually even requires discipline? Or asking yourself, have I set my goals in my life high enough to even need discipline in the first place? And if you'd say, I don't think I need discipline, I mean, if we can just be honest for a moment, if you're just kind of bumping along and you're in this low challenge job, and you're bumping along and you've got a few easygoing relationships, maybe you don't need discipline at all. Maybe you're fine in what you're doing. But if your goals are higher than that, if God has given you a dream or God has given you just kind of some goals where you say, you know what, I want to accomplish certain things with my life, and I've got these desires and these dreams in my heart, and I want to fulfill the highest vocational potential that I can. Or you say, I want to be the best husband or wife that I can be, or I want to be the best parent that I could be, or I want to be as close to God as I can be in my relationship. Then for you, if you're going to experience your full potential in life, it's going to require discipline. Bottom line, discipline is necessary if we're going to experience full potential in our lives. And so let me ask you again, do you even have a reason to have discipline in your life? Are your goals high enough? And perhaps for you, you'd say, you know what, I used to have goals. I used to have dreams. And yet for whatever reason, it's just been squashed in you. And you'd say, enough people have shut me down. Enough people have stepped on me. I've been broken so many times, I don't have dreams anymore. I don't even have goals anymore. And I would just encourage you. God says, okay, then let's start where you are today, and let's begin to rebuild some dreams, and let's rebuild some goals. And this strong desire to say, God, you know what, I want to do more with my life than what I'm doing right now. And so the first part of developing discipline in our lives is just having goals high enough to say, okay, I even need discipline in my life. Now the second part, first part is what are your goals? Are they high enough to need discipline? Second component of discipline is begin to practice delayed gratification. Delayed gratification, bottom line, it's nothing more than just arranging the pain and the pleasure in our life in such a way that it enhances those seasons of pleasure. Another way to say it, bottom line, delayed gratification is pain first, pleasure last. Pain first, pleasure last. Growing up in my home as a kid, we always had dessert. Every single meal, my mom had a dessert. And as I thought about that, I thought, well, maybe not for breakfast, but then I thought, yeah, actually for breakfast we did as well, because what we had almost every morning for breakfast, my mom would get these tubes, and I think they still sell them, but these tubes, I think it was like Pillsbury tubes, and you tear off the wrapper and you bang them on the counter, and then they pop, and then you stick these little pieces of dough in the oven, and they start smelling amazing, and then there's this vanilla topping you put on them, and we had those almost every morning for breakfast, and they were amazing. So I think technically we had breakfast, we had dessert even for breakfast almost every day. But the favorite dessert that my mom actually made for me, my favorite dessert, was actually her cake. Now, my mom, when she would make cake, I don't ever remember her making a cake from scratch. Maybe she did. I don't remember that. Instead, it was always straight out of the box. It was Duncan Hines, right out of the box, white cake with chocolate icing, and I loved it. And it's still my favorite all-time cake. I mean, I love that. And as a matter of fact, when Ruth and I were first married, then she knew that I loved white cake chocolate icing, and so she decided she was going to make me a white cake chocolate icing, and I think hoped that it would be as good, maybe even better than what my mom had, and so she actually made this cake from scratch. And after several hours in the kitchen working on this cake from scratch, she brings out what I'm sure was a beautiful cake. It probably tasted good, but I looked at it and go, it's not from the box. It's not Duncan Hines. And it just wasn't the same as my favorite cake, which is right out of the box. And so as you have white cake, chocolate icing, at least the way my mom would do it, you'd have that layer of cake, and then you'd put icing on top and on the sides, and you'd put another layer, more icing, more cake. And my question to you, if you had that, and maybe for you it was 3 layers, for us it was always 2, but if you had that kind of cake, how did you eat? How did you go about eating a piece of chocolate cake that way? My guess is some of you would just kind of dig in and you'd start eating and you wouldn't even think about how you're eating it. You just kind of jump in and start eating it. And then others of you would think about it. But what you would do is you'd actually eat all the icing off the cake first, and then you'd eat the cake last. And for me, I would always eat the cake first. And not that it was painful, but I would eat the cake, and so I would kind of slice the cake out and leave the icing there. And so by the time I was almost done, you just have this outline of the cake in icing. And then I would eat the icing and just devour it and enjoy all of it as I'm eating it. And what's interesting is the art of eating cake, and the right way is to eat the cake first with the icing, but the art of eating cake is actually a good example of delayed gratification, where you say, okay, I'm going to save the very best part for last. I'm going to do what I need to do the best and have the best part for last. Now, for my mother-in-law, Shirley was somebody that she used discipline well. She understood what it meant to have goals. She understood what it meant to make kind of practice delayed gratification. And specifically when it came to her finances, she knew what she wanted. And so she planned all around her goals, and she practiced delayed gratification. Shirley's a nurse. She's an RN. And so all of her adult life, as far as I know, worked full-time right up until retirement at 65. And Shirley and Ray, Ruth's dad, they had a comfortable life. They weren't wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. And there wasn't always a lot of extra money around, but Shirley was she was disciplined. And so she knew what she wanted. So when the kids were younger, our kids were younger, then she would put money aside and she would buy them different gifts or clothes and send that to the kids. But she had to set money aside to do that. If she wanted something done around the house, then she would set money aside in order to get new carpet or paint or whatever it was. She was a tither, and so she always, first thing she did whenever it came to her finances is she would tithe. But one time, later in life, she decided her goal was a Lexus. She wanted to drive a Lexus, and so she saved her money, delayed gratification. She saved it up until she could find and buy a Lexus. And she also wanted to save enough so that she and Ray would be able to be comfortable in retirement. And so she did that. She saved, she invested, and invested her money wisely. So by the time she retired, she had a fairly nice nest egg so that she's been able to live. They were able to live until Ray's passing in retirement and live comfortably and live well. And she saved enough so that nest egg is still there, so that now as she's in a different phase of her life, she can continue to live well and be well cared for on into the remaining years of her life. And it's all because she practiced delayed gratification. She was disciplined. She set her goals, delayed gratification. Delayed gratification works all across the board. Not just with finances, not just with eating cake, but it's true in our relationships, it's true in the way we go about our work and our vocations, it's true even in spiritually with our lives and our relationship with God, and it's saying, okay, am I going to be disciplined in my walk with God? And so first component to experiencing discipline so that life can go well is, are your goals high enough? Do you have something you're shooting for? Second component is the practice of delayed gratification. Third practice comes down to the art of advanced decision making. Have you developed the art of advanced decision making? Because what happens is, bottom line, if you don't make decisions in advance, then discipline can kind of get thrown out the window. And so it's deciding before you're in the midst of the situation, how are you going to choose to do things? Before things get heated, before you're in the midst of a tempting moment, how are you going to respond? And you make the decision in advance. You don't wait till the heat of the moment. You don't wait until the argument is transpiring. You don't wait until you're in the middle of a situation. And Proverbs actually talks a lot about advanced decision making. Where it talks about it most is in really what I would call maybe some R-rated sections of the book of Proverbs, that if you've been reading through Proverbs with us, again, one day at a time, whatever day of the month it is, you read that chapter. If you haven't been doing it, not too late to jump in. But it's in an R-rated section of Proverbs at the beginning of the book of Proverbs, and chapters that really talk about the folly, the consequences of just sexual temptation. And the writer of Proverbs takes this interesting approach, and he says the best way to deal with sexual temptations, advanced decision making. Make some decisions in advance. Let me ask you to turn in your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 7. If you don't have a Bible with you, there's some in the seats there around you. Either that or do open up the Bible app on your phone. Proverbs chapter 7. Love for you to read with me. Proverbs chapter 7. I want you to see this scenario that's laid out. It's actually a dad talking to his son or his sons and giving his sons advice. My guess is the sons are teenagers, young adults, and so this dad is saying, look, I need to give you some advice. I need to help you in how to do life and do it well. Proverbs chapter 7, let me begin reading verse 1. The dad says, follow my advice, my son. Always treasure my commands. Obey my commands and live. Guard my instructions as you guard your own eyes. Tie them on your fingers as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Love wisdom like a sister. Make insight a beloved member of your family. Let them protect you from an affair with an immoral woman, from listening to the flattery of a promiscuous woman. This dad is saying, look, I need to give you some advice that will save your life. I need to give you some advice, and you need to listen to it, and you need to follow it. Don't just throw it away. Don't just put it aside, but listen to it. Then he actually begins to tell his son or sons a story. And he describes a scenario of something he saw looking out his window. Verse 6. While I was at the window of my house, looking through the curtain, I saw some naive young men, and one in particular who lacked common sense. He lacked street smarts. It's really what he's saying. He was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, strolling down the path by her house. It was at twilight in the evening as deep darkness fell. The woman approached him, seductively dressed and sly of heart. She was the brash, rebellious type, never content to stay at home. She is often in the streets and markets, soliciting at every corner. She threw her arms around him and kissed him, and with a brazen look, she said, I've just made my peace offerings and fulfilled my vows. You're the one I was looking for. I came out to find you, and here you are. My bed is spread with beautiful blankets, with colored sheets of Egyptian linen. I perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us drink our fill of love until morning. Let's enjoy each other's caresses, for my husband is not home. He's away on a long trip. He's taken a wallet full of money with him, and he won't return until later this month. She says, come on, we're going to have a good time. Husband's gone, no chance of him coming back. He's going to be gone for a long, long time. So come, let's enjoy each other through the night. So verse 21, she seduced him with her pretty speech, enticed him with her flattery. He followed her at once like an ox going to slaughter. He was like a stag caught in a trap, awaiting the arrow that would pierce its heart. He was like a bird flying into a snare, little knowing it would cost him his life. So listen to me, my sons, and pay attention to my words. Don't let your heart stray away towards her. Don't wander down her wayward path, for she has been the ruin of many. Many men have been her victims. Her house is the road to the grave. Her bedroom is the den of death. And what the writer is saying is, oh man, if you go down this road, it's going to lead to death. It will destroy your life. And so he says, make the decision in advance. Don't go down this road. Decide while you're in a safe, protected environment. The dad is talking to his son or sons. Maybe they're in the living room. Maybe they're in the kitchen of their home. And he's saying, I'm asking you to make a decision now that when you are out, you don't cross the street and go on her side of the road. But you make the decision ahead, you walk on by, because it will destroy your life. Now, he actually kind of lays out a couple things as he goes through this. In making that decision, he says, review all the benefits. What would be the benefits of crossing the road and being with that woman for the night? And she kind of says, hey, come and let's just enjoy the evening. We'll enjoy each other's caresses, and we'll just drink our fill of love till the morning. So there are short-term benefits. And so he says, think through, what are the benefits if you cross the road? And there are some. But he also says, think of the cost that are there. So if you happen to be married, think of the cost of destroying your marriage. If you happen to have children, think of the cost of destroying your children. What is this going to do to your kids when your family is torn apart? What's it going to do to you vocationally? What's it going to do to your relationship with God, your integrity before other people? And he just says, oh man, you need to think through the benefits, but you also need to think through the cost. And then he says, kind of do this cost-benefit analysis and do it in broad daylight. You say, David, that sounds very business-like, very just kind of cost-benefit analysis. What is that? And again, the writer of Proverbs is saying, in broad daylight, when your senses are there, when you're not all heated up, when the temptation is not controlling you, that's when you make an analysis. Because when you do it in broad daylight, there's no way you would say the benefits outweigh the cost. There's no way. It wouldn't happen when you're thinking wisely. And so he says, do this analysis in broad daylight before you ruin your family, before you destroy what's going on in your life. Now, driving back from Houston, it was interesting. As Ashley and I are driving, one of the things that we noticed that I don't know that I've noticed before is there were billboards all along the freeway. advertising gentlemen's clubs and I think really targeting the truck drivers and saying, hey, while you're on the road, come on, pull off to the side to Paradise Island, pull off to the side and meet Savannah. I mean, all these different billboards and just saying, hey, come on, who's going to know? You're on the road, it's okay. And the writer of Proverbs says, in advance, decide, I'm not going to pull off the road. Or for you, maybe it's somebody at work for you, maybe it's something on TV for you, maybe it's on your computer and it's pornography, and you decide in advance, I'm not going to go down that road. Now, Proverbs talks about it from the standpoint of sexual temptation, but advanced decision-making happens in all areas of life. Advanced decision makers set the alarm clock at night. They say, I'm not just going to wait and see if I wake up in the morning. They say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make the decision now to set the alarm clock and be productive tomorrow. Advanced decision makers look at their life and say, I don't have many friends in my life, and unless I do something to make friends, then I'm going to stay lonely. And so advanced decision makers say, you know what, I think I'm going to join a group at church, a small group. They're starting this fall. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to be a part of a group. Develop relationships so that 18 months down the road, as I'm sitting around the dining room table, I've got friends, people that I connect with, but people whose life are going to go well. Proverbs says they experience discipline in their lives and they follow through. And so I guess the question I would ask you is, what are the decisions, what are the choices that you need to make now in broad daylight? My guess is that you have some choices you need to be making right now, and you need to make them in broad daylight while you can think wisely, while you can think well. Choices like honoring God in everything that you do. Choices like, sexual purity. Choices like being a true friend to somebody else. And so what choices, the question I would ask you, you need to go forward, there we go. What choices are there that you need to make in broad daylight? And make the choices. Make the choices now, and you write those choices down, and you say, okay, God, as I make these choices, I want to experience discipline in my life. And the reason is because the writer of Proverbs says people who practice discipline in their lives normally are going to work out well. Flip side of that is people that don't. If you're careless with discipline, if you're casual about discipline, probably not going to go so well. And some of you right now are sitting there going, you know what, I think I've practiced discipline in my life, hasn't gone well. Can I just push back on you a little bit? My guess is probably not. My guess is probably discipline has been careless or lacking or casual in your life. Odds are you're not that 1% that it's not working out for. Maybe you are, but odds are it's that lack of discipline, life isn't going so well, and you can't figure out why. And God is saying, and Proverbs is saying, I think it's because of this. And developing discipline in our lives. Shirley was good at using the tool of discipline in her life. And it's a tool that each and every one of us can have in our lives. And I know you could take that tool and like almost all the tools in my toolbox, it gets to the bottom of the toolbox, I never see it again. And you can do that in your life. And you can put discipline at the bottom and you can totally disregard it and never pull it out, never use it. And if that's your choice, that's your choice. But just understand, odds are life is not going to go so well for you. And you're going to struggle, and don't get mad at God, and don't get mad at everybody else. It's a choice you made. You're leaving the tool at the bottom of your toolbox. Or you can say, you know what, I think I'm going to begin to set some goals. I think I'm going to begin to practice delayed gratification. I think I'm going to begin to make some advanced decisions so that life for me can go well. At the end of every gathering for us at LCBC, all of our campuses, always to my right, your left, there are people that would love to pray with you. If you'd like to pray about this or any other topic in your life, then we would love to pray with you today. But my challenge for you today is, man, if you know that by developing discipline in your life can generally go well, then why ignore God? Why not instead say, God, I need your wisdom. I want to move closer to you. I want to follow you. I want to listen to what you're saying. Why not say, God, guide me in this. Give me the strength, give me the courage to experience discipline in my life.
You are the source of all wisdom and offer it freely. A personal guide to those who live honestly. You pay close attention to those who follow you. Turn my ears to hear your voice. Help me make your insight a priority. I want to see what is true and fair. set my heart on a life that makes sense to you. I am done pretending that I know it all. Your wisdom is what I need and is pleasing to my soul.
Like the rushing wind, would you breathe within my heart? Through the raging storm, would you hold me in your arms? 'Cause I need you. How I need you. I need your love like I need water. I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. Come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer to your heart.
Show me the path you have for me. Be my guide. I trust you from the bottom of my heart. I won't try to figure out everything on my own. I'm listening for your voice in everything I do and everywhere I go. I will follow you, for you are the one who keeps me on the right path.
Through the wind and rain, I can hear you call my name. When the nights get rough, I will still sing out your praise. 'Cause I need you. How I need you. Would you stand and join us? I need your love like I need water. I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like fire. Come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer to your closer than my every breath, closer than my every step, closer than the song I sing, closer than anything, closer than my every breath, closer than my every step, closer than the song I sing, closer than anything. And I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. And come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer. I need your love like I need water. And I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. So discipline really is everything. If we're going to move forward in our walk, our journey with God. Unbudgeted time, it always flows towards our weaknesses. Let me say that again. Unbudgeted time always flows towards our weaknesses. And when we lack discipline, that's when things creep in that move us backwards, not forwards. So may we give ourselves to discipline this week. May we give ourselves to Jesus and let love motivate us to be diligent and disciplined. Have a great week. Take care.